Hey, this is Darian Cruz with the Cruz Group. Just doing a little bit of a market update today. Had a couple interesting conversations with lenders, buyers, and sellers today, discussing what's happening in the market, what we're thinking is going to happen with interest rates because no one knows 100%, what some of those projections are, and how that could affect the market. So, first of all, next week, the Federal Reserve has their meeting between March 17th and March 18th, and a couple of economists have weighed in on what they're expecting to come. The real question is whether or not rates are going to drop below 6%. What have we been seeing recently? So, right now, mortgage rates have trended a little bit lower than in the previous years, but we're still at around 6.09%, which is honestly, over the past few years, that's relatively low, even though it's not where a lot of people want to be psychologically. Historically, also, obviously, much lower than has been in previous years and previous decades. Bankrate recently did an article on this. They had kind of mixed expectations. So 55% of rate watchers there actually think that the mortgage rates are going to stay flat over the next week, with only a smaller share expecting a drop. But the ones that are expecting the drop are very loud voices, so it is possible. It could happen. They could be correct. There's also that sentiment that we're seeing in the housing market right now, which is sort of a wait and see kind of mentality, right? Buyers aren't sure if rates are going to drop. They don't know if they're going to keep moving down. They wonder if they might creep up. And what's interesting is the amount of stability that we've actually had with these rates has removed that sense of urgency from the market. So what really inspires people to make a decision is that external pressure, right? If they wonder whether or not the rates are going to go up, I better go ahead and buy now before they go up. I need to lock in this good rate. If they're going down, I should start looking for a house right now, and I can time it where I'll make my offer. Hopefully rates go down before closing. I can really lock in a good rate. So all of that is influencing how people are thinking. When it stays steady like this, there's not that sense of urgency. They're going to go look at homes and say, oh, you know what? This is a great home. But I mean, I'm in no rush. Rates have been this way for the past year, for the past 5 months. I can just maybe miss out on this one. I'll find another one. It's really interesting how that psychologically plays in. And it's when we're around that 6 to 7 range, that's when we're seeing more of that. So there have been brief moments where the rates might come and get into those high fives. And that does cause an instant sort of impact where we see in the market that just gets people back to moving. When they see those rates drop below 6, it just signals to them, oh, time to get out there, time to buy. For our sellers, it's great for them as well. We start to see an immediate increase in showings on the properties. Really interesting how that psychological impact of being below 6. So, like we said, we don't know exactly what's going to happen. The Fed does not set mortgage rates directly. It still very much follows the 10-year Treasury yield. Broader inflation outlooks also are going to impact what happens, but they can definitely set the tone. So there could be no major changes coming with the rates over the next week or so. A lot of us are hoping there's at least maybe a small drop. A little drop would get us right into that moment where we could see people really feel the impulse to get back out in the market. But if they remain around current mortgage levels, around that 6% to 6.2%, how's that going to affect the market? What we suspect is that it'll be sort of more of the same. We are still not, honestly, in a balanced market here in North Carolina. It is getting more balanced, but it's still somewhat seller leaning. We're just seeing a little bit more in terms of what buyers can do in negotiations, whether or not there's some give on some of the pricing of these homes. Some people are still pricing a little too aggressively for what the current market is. They're not seeing the same increases that they saw in previous years or the same equity build that they saw in previous years. So that's something that's influencing them. If we do get that drop, though, we're going to see a boost in buyer confidence. Once they get below that mark, if we can just get into the high fives, we'll see where a lot of buyers, even though it's not a huge difference necessarily, they're going to feel as though the market's returning to affordability. It's going to motivate them to go ahead and start making offers on these homes. And that affordability is going to have other effects. So a move into that range shows that once you get below those sub 6% rates, honestly, millions of buyers can enter the market. That could be a national shift in terms of what happens with the real estate market, even a small drop. Anything that's reflected on monthly payments for the average consumer, that's what they're basing their decisions on. So if they feel a bigger bite of affordability, once rates break that certain threshold, they'll be back in the market. Now, there's a couple things to keep in mind. If we see that, what I would not recommend to buyers is to wait long. If we see even a little bit of a drop, it's probably time to go ahead and get in and really be serious and intentional about the homes that you're looking at. Because inevitably, if more buyers come in the market, that's when you start seeing those multiple offer situations, and that's when actually prices start to drive upward. It's great for our seller clients, not so great for our buyer clients. So you definitely want to lock in the price at a reasonable rate where you can. If things trend in the future downward, if rates go down, there's always the option to refinance in the future, as long as you're at a manageable place right now when you go into the purchase. If they go up, well, then you made a wise decision, right? You were able to lock in a great rate that's historically still a very strong rate. Any rate in the 6s and 7s is still historically strong. It's just not what we were used to over the last 5 years. We got a little spoiled, understandably. I'd like to be back there. It was great having listings selling in 2 or 3 days. Rarely does that happen now. We do get a little bit of it. I was very fortunate. Had a great listing last week. It was only on the market for a few days, and it sold with a lot of interest. We'd like to see some of that come back, but we also don't want buyers to be exploited either. We're working within the confines of the market that we find ourselves in. So here at the Cruise Group, one of the things that we do is sit down with our buyers, sit down with our sellers, and our investors. We analyze the current market that we are in. We can't predict 100% into the future what's going to happen, and we can't worry about the past and what already happened. Okay, so we're going to game plan based on what is known. Where do we find ourselves? What's happening in the market? How do we use that data? How do we use those tools that we have at our disposal in order to maximize your buying power, your selling power, and just to help you get the results, the best results possible as our clients? So that's something that we're always doing. If you have any questions about the market, whether it's here, other markets as well, we have fantastic referral partners all around the country and internationally that we can help connect you with. Great professionals that can make sure you're taken care of, and they'll have that same mindset. They'll be looking into their market, they'll dig deep, and they'll make sure they help you position yourself strongly and strategically in order to get the best results. Feel free to reach out to us, thecruisegroup.net. We look forward to hearing from you.